It's a beautiful day here in the kingdom, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. As always, I do hope you're doing well, friends. I really do hope that, and welcome back to Chelsea news, of which there is a lot. We are in the Club World Cup. The Premier League fixtures have been publicised. Romano is talking about Gittins. Apparently Newcastle fear Chelsea getting in a transfer war with them. And another sort of, I don't want to say top six rival, but upper Premier League class rival. Apparently Villa are looking at Jackson, which is interesting. Of course, they never really replaced John Duran, did they? All right, welcome back, friends. How you all doing? Thank you for supporting the content. As always, most appreciated. Everyone's welcome here. So come on down, mate. Drop a like on the video and subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell if you choose to. Let's go. Now, I'm going to tell you why this, pow, is a huge Chelsea boost. Getting this from the X account at Blue Dodger, Chelsea Dodgers. The fixtures have been announced, as you can see, and Chelsea, for their first 4 games till the 13th of September, have London derbies, baby. Home against Crystal Palace on the open day, and then we only got to go over to the other side of London for West Ham, Fulham at home, and then away to the dizzying lengths of Brentford, who are pretty much neighbours to Chelsea. Now, this is ruddy wicked, because everyone's talking about Man City. I mean, I haven't looked at Man City's fixtures. Who cares about them? But Man City, and more notably Chelsea, are playing in the Club World Cup. We are doing a pre-season. It's been confirmed as well. We got 2 or 3 games for pre-season. There's very little rest for the players. And with that, people are thinking, oh God, we're going to get freaking Liverpool and Man United away for the first few games. And the players are going to be knackered and they got to travel. But to have 4 London derbies in the opening 4 Premier League games, and none of those London derbies being Tottenham or Arsenal, is wicked. Palace, West Ham, Fulham and Brentford. That, ladies and gentlemen, no disrespect to the level of opposition. Everyone's good in the Prem. Everyone's good in the Prem. Brentford will have a new gaffer, of course. But they are 4 winnable games. They are 4 games in London. No travelling after a congested summer. Who has paid off the Premier League? Thank you very much. We will take that all day long and run home with it. Next story. All right. So yes, transfers are still ongoing. Of course, Chelsea gaffer Enzo Maresca said in a press conference, we're going to basically sign wingers in the, because he says all we've got is Noni and Neto. Noni's even been linked away at times, and Ty, a young teenage winger that sort of auxiliary plays on both sides. And he says, yeah, we need to do something in the transfer market. Of course, Jamie Gittins agreed a deal. Romano posted this on X. Jamie Gittins, he's not opening the doors to any other clubs as he maintains the agreement on a several year, that's 7 and several put together, a several year deal, I like it, with Chelsea. Discussions on between the clubs, discussions ongoing. He wants La Chelsea. We know he does. We saw that video when he sped away, all sad, disappointed and angry, when he knew the deal wasn't going to get done prior to the Club World Cup. I think he wanted to join the boys. And yeah, he's maintaining his desire to join Chelsea. The terms are agreed. His wages are agreed. The bonuses are agreed. A 7-year deal. I'm speculating that it's a 7+1, so it's probably an 8-year deal, really, because he's only 20 years old. As time goes by, of course, we've been linked with Malik Fofana, who's a very, very exciting player in terms of looking at his highlights reels. His numbers maybe a little bit more, slightly more creative than Gittins, but certainly not as more of a goal. Gittins is more of a finisher, let's say, which is, for my money, what we need at Chelsea. We need goals from the wings. But why not both? Why not both? Chelsea have opened dialogue with Lyon for Malik Fofana. We did look at his stats briefly. We might do a bit more of a deep dive on him if the story heats up and percolates further in the background. But Gittins, obviously a desirable player. Obviously a player that Dortmund are willing to sell, and they feel like they can sell him for a lot of. They wanted 55, 60 million quid for him initially. Do fun. Even if that was our initial, like, starting negotiation point, as ours was for 25 or 30 million pounds. So obviously both have got starting very far away. But Chelsea were like, I think we got to 44 million of add-ons. I mean, let's not play silly buggers here. Who else is paying you that for Jamie Gittins? And where else is he going to go? He's agreed a deal with Chelsea. You know he wants to go to Chelsea. They have to sell him to Chelsea. And they will get good money for him. So let's get this. I don't know. The thing is now, I think even though players can be registered for the knockouts for the Club World Cup, I think he's cup tied. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section. But I think, yeah, once you've played for one team in the competition, you can't play for two. Let me know what you think. Let's move on. Right. So, other than wingers, like conventional Maresca style 1v1 wingers, yeah, we are looking at this other attacker. Whether it be like a slightly more central, whether it be like, we'll talk briefly about Morgan Rogers in a moment. Joao Pedro, let's just talk about this. This is on TalkSport by Alex Crook, well informed. Newcastle fear Premier League rivals will hijack £70 million Joao Pedro transfer. Can I just say, I hope we don't hijack Joao Pedro for £70 million. I like him. I like him as a player. 40 million, 50, Pedro Neto money. Pedro Neto like him. That's kind of my position on Joao Pedro. I've sort of slowly moved away from hating everything related to Brighton because of how good Cucurella and Caicedo are. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like probably Levi Colwell's loan there was very good for him. So I've sort of balanced out now for your, for your Sanchez's and your Potters of this world. Newcastle fear their move as Joao Pedro will be hijacked by Chelsea. The Champions League Magpies, they fell into the Champions League backwards, are readying a formal approach to Brighton for Pedro, who is believed to expressed a desire to leave this summer. Although there's a good vibe at Brighton with Hassan Hutul, a young geezer who's 4 years younger than me, which makes me feel a bit ill. However, Newcastle are cautious of being dragged into a bidding war with several other Premier League clubs. Clearly, he's got the streets, Joao Pedro, as well as teams in Europe are keen on the Brazilian. Eddie Howe's men are particularly concerned about Chelsea, who have made a habit of taking players and managers from the Sussex coast in recent seasons. However, Howe has been a long-term admirer of £70 million rated Pedro. Who's rating him 70? I mean, Brighton. He's a Brighton player. Brighton, of course, are rating him 70 million quid. They wanted, and remember this for a laugh, they wanted £100 million for Evan Ferguson, who couldn't get a game for West Ham last season on loan. They wanted £100 million. Shut up, blood, I believe the kids say. Yes, so the 23-year-old's willingness to play as a striker, number 10, or out wide, appeals to Eddie Howe at Newcastle. And that's why it should appeal for us. Because he's kind of going to fill that Nkunku auxiliary role, but probably as a player that can operate better in the Premier League, who can, operate in tight spaces and is less transitional, requires less Bundesliga transitional vibes. So look, Again, I'm sort of, not begrudgingly, but slowly trusting the project, the process more at Chelsea in terms of the sporting directors and the manager, purely on what they've done last season. Players like Noni and Jackson and, others coming good, and certainly Cole Palmer, etc., etc. So I'm slowly going, all right, do your thing. And if they're like, yeah, Joao Pedro, we've learnt from this body of evidence that we need Joao Pedro, then I can dig it. That sounds incredibly hip from me. Look, there's a long article here. I'm not going to read it. Basically, Newcastle fear Chelsea are going to hijack Joao Pedro. I'll just nail my colours to the mast. I'd be very happy to sign him as the third sort of... Obviously, the main striker options are Nico Jackson and Delap. We're about to talk about Nico Jackson. And then he can not slot in there. And Joao Pedro slot, like I said in a recent video, Joao Pedro slot in much easier than, bless him, Tariq George being thrown in as a striker in competitive Premier League games for Chelsea because we don't have anyone who can play there. Joao Pedro very much can, as well as other places too. Alrighty right, let's look at this then. Pow! This is an exclusive on Give Me Sport by Danny Rust. That's a cool name. Sounds like he should be some sort of like folk singer. And the more known Dean Jones. Exclusive. Emery eyeing a reunion with 100,000. Oh yeah, because of course. He coached Nicholas Jackson at Villarreal. I've just made the link because it reminded me. Aston Villa are ready to enter discussions over what it would take to tempt Nico Jackson to embark on a fresh challenge at Villa Park if Premier League counterparts Chelsea choose to put him on the market as preparations are made for next season. Give Me Sport sources have revealed. Having allowed John Duran to seal a £71 million move to the Saudi Pro League big spenders Al Nassr midway through last campaign, the Villains head coach Unai Emery is determined to secure additional firepower and fresh competitions for Ollie Watkins during newly opened summer window. And of course, they had Rashford, but looks like he's off, possibly to Barcelona, which is something that perfect opportunity to plug the second channel. This is the kind of stuff I speak about on the second channel. Rashford to Barca. I speak a lot about the other clubs, Man United, City, Arsenal, Liverpool. We're over 18,000 subscribers now, so thank you to all of you who've subscribed. If you like my content and you'd want to see me talk about other footballing teams, check out Football Yannick on YouTube or click the link in the description. Right, so let's continue this. Villa pinpoint Jackson as possible recruit. Emery is eyeing a reunion with Jackson at Aston Villa after previously working with him. This is at La Liga giants, Villarreal. Are they giants of La Liga? I mean, they've won European trophies, which is nice for them. But I would say, giants of La Liga are Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico, Sevilla above maybe they're one of the bigger ones, according to Give Me Sports sources, but he is having to remain patient as Chelsea have not publicly confirmed whether they'd be prepared to sanction his departure during the summer. Although the Blues are in a strong negotiating position and under no pressure to cash in the striker, as he's got 8 years remaining on his contract. He would have spent 10 years, a decade at Chelsea. Mamma mia. 8 years on a contract which allows him, he's on 100k per week, and I think that's his improved one, because I know Cole Palmer came in on 75k per week and now he's on 120. I think maybe he's on 100k plus bonuses, Jackson, so Chelsea would be very happy to pay him 100k for a long time in terms of what he gives them. So the sources to Give Me Sport have also informed Villa want to discover whether Jackson will be deemed surplus to requirement following Delap's arrival at Chelsea. I'll tell you right now, guys, no. Because look at us last season with our striker. We need at least 2 strikers, you silly ruddy sausages. Silly buggers. And Chelsea, having seen him, he got 10 goals last campaign. He's got double digits of Premier League goals in his first 2 seasons. That is good. The Senegal international has been described as extraordinary by scout Jacek Kulig, but his current employer's decision to bolster their attacking options, look, and there's talks here, of course, we really want Morgan Rogers. Could a deal be done there? One player goes one way, one goes the other way, although it never happens like that, does it? It's individual deals, and that's almost certainly for accounting reasons. Right, let's talk about Jackson. I like Jackson. I don't want him going anywhere. I think also what's the main talking point is not only do I like Jackson generally in his first 2 years, and I wouldn't want to sell him, even if I'd be interested in seeing another striker start over him. I feel like even without Delap starting over Jackson, which I'd probably want long term, I want to see Nicholas Jackson with Delap standing behind, on the touchline, because Jackson, look at how him his playing in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in early phases, and there's clips going around of him deeper playing really well. Of course, got an assist. I think we deserve to see Nicholas Jackson with some pressure on him, with some competition, with a striker to not only put pressure on him for his starting spot, but for him to learn off, that's how you receive so-and-so's pass. oh, that's why you've got such a good combination with Nolly. I need to do that as well. You do that slightly different to me, I can see. Maybe I can do that. That's what we want to see from Nicholas Jackson prior to making a decision. Saying that, what if a Villa or, come along and say, oh, they don't have the Champions League money now, and they are kind of tight with their finances. But it would always be, because we paid 29, I think it was 33 million euros for Nicholas Jackson, which is like 29 million pounds, so less than 30 million quid. What if someone waved 70 million pounds on front of the sporting director's nose, which is a huge transfer profit, a massive book profit, and, he's not... even though they really like him and they think he can be better, they probably won't view him as Caicedo, Cole Palmer, untouchable. I know a lot of you guys watching, a lot of Chelsea fans, don't rate Jackson. So if someone said to you, you could do over double your money on him, there'll be a lot of Chelsea fans that go, yeah, do it, absolutely do it. I'm dreaming, because I want Delap to be my striker. I want a new guy to come in as well, and I see a future for Shin Mweka and Mark Yu. Fine, whatever, cool. But for me personally, I would be very, very scared of Nicholas Jackson going elsewhere and becoming, a very good striker, Even if we make good money for him, even if we sell him, because, I don't know, man, I'd just be worried about that personally. And Villa, Newcastle, these guys are our rivals now. The times are changing. I keep spitting on my freaking monitor. For the times they are changing. I watched that, A Complete Unknown the other day with Timothy Chalamet, who kind of annoys me, but then Bob Dylan's a bit annoying as well, so it works perfectly. Anyway, I'm talking about Bob Dylan and film, so it's probably time to wind up. Let me know your thoughts, comment down below, leave your thoughts, feelings, opinions, and musings as well. Thank you for going to support Football Yannick, the second channel, more content from me, you might dig it. And yeah, man, road to 20k subs there. Simply fantastic. Beautiful stuff. I'm getting speech impediment now. Enjoy the football. See you soon. Peace.